You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everyone! 2 weeks ago we reviewed 300 because 300 Rise of an Empire was coming out in theaters and then realized we reviewed the wrong movie, and you know what that means?
We get to wear armor this time?
Ew. Now it means another episode of Don't F with the Original!
With Nicholas, I'm the game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I'm Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic. Now, as I just explained, our show, what we do is when a movie comes out that's part of a big franchise, we take the movie that started it all and give it a look to see what our expectations should be. And then we ended up reviewing sort of the wrong movie, as a lot pointed out to us. 300 is based on a comic book by Frank Miller that was inspired by the movie The 300 Spartans, a 1962 movie by Rudolph Maté.
Yeah. It's basically the story of the Battle of Thermopylae, where the Persian Empire was trying to invade Greece, and basically the Greek force stopped them at a pass. They were led by Spartans. In this movie, only 300 of them showed up instead of the whole Spartan army, because for various reasons. So 300 Spartans hold the line against the whole of the Persian Empire as they're trying to defend Greece from the invaders.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the story goes. That's how history goes.
Yeah.
I will say that it's actually 301.
I guess. You're right. Because there's this one guy, I'm not sure what his role was exactly.
Oh, his plot was weird, dude.
I know.
Actually, let's get into that, his plot, and then we'll give our more general impressions. Like, the basic thrust of the 300 Spartans is exactly the same as 300, minus the visuals, if you will.
Yeah, and they're wearing armor. They're not bare-chested, which I really actually liked.
Which I count as part of the visuals.
I wasn't looking at their chest, I'm just saying.
And, there's this one subplot with this young dude who falls in love with this girl, and then his father turns out to be suspected of treason, and then he can't be part of the army because of that, and that really shames him, and all of that crap.
And so he decides to go and help the army and prove himself nonetheless, and then he proves himself, he's part of the army for a while, and then that's it.
Well, no, actually, then the thing with his father comes back and gets redefined differently, and, like,
yeah,
what the hell is this? Anyway, and it started as an abstinence subplot, no less, because, like, he really wants to boink his girlfriend. His girlfriend's all like, not till we get married. Yeah, you really like it, you're gonna put a ring on it. And, like, what the hell is this doing in this movie?
I know, it's weird. Well, is it a product of its time? I guess.
Well, yes, I would imagine it is, because, I mean, like, in today's society...
Yeah. Sorry.
Please, you know what I mean? Like,
that was actually a really funny thought. I'm sorry.
Let's get back into more general thoughts on the 300 Spartans. How did you feel about it?
I really liked it. I felt it was a lot more about, we're defending Greece and not we're proving that Spartans are superior. It was more about we need to protect Greece from this evil threat. They're helped by the Athenians and, their efforts on the water to stop the fleet. You have other Greeks that come and help, the Thespians that you see as well, and other troops. So, it was more historically accurate, and it was all about not Greece, not just about we are men and we're going to show that we're men because we're awesome, but more about, we're doing this to save our country. And I actually like that message a little more than, look at me, I'm awesome.
I'm going to cry a little bit. I've waited for this moment for close to a year now.
Yeah.
And it's finally happened. We finally found a movie that you like more than I do.
Really?
Yeah, I did not care for this at all.
Interesting.
This is the first time that's ever happened, and I was beginning to feel like I was being a little too easy on movies, or that maybe you were a hater, one of the two. But now it just turns out that you do like things that are different. I feel so good inside. No, I gotta admit, I was not enthusiastic about this movie at all. I watched it and I got bored really quickly. I felt it was very jingoistic.
Really?
Yeah. I felt 3/4 of the dialogue was like, Spartan, 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 Spartan. Spartan, 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 Greece, Spartan.
there was that Greece in there that really changed the tone from 300 that was just Spartan, Spartan, Spartan. You know?
What I liked about 300, and obviously we already reviewed it, so I'm not going to spend too much time about it, was that there was a subversion of that Spartan narrative in the fact that it was propaganda speech.
Okay.
This movie is presented as objective fact. And for that reason, the jingoism doesn't have that sort of counterbalance of maybe we are criticizing jingoism. And so it comes off a little bit like, oh gosh, oh my god.
Okay.
Leonidas, again in 300, comes off as a lunatic to me.
Yes, good point.
And the entire Spartan society comes off as sheer lunacy to me.
Yeah.
Whereas here, this is a very rational society that makes a lot of sense. And I find it's been very, for lack of a better term, Americanized in the sense that they've been made very relatable, very close to what our society is like. And as a result, it was less interesting to me.
What do you mean by Americanized? That's interesting.
I felt that, the whole, we won't have sex till I get married.
You know the guy had sex with little boys anyways.
But they don't touch on that. Yeah, they don't touch on that.
It's true. That is true.
It's at least inferred very heavily in 300
yeah.
that they're mega gays.
Yes. New term coined here.
But in this one, this is all hush-hush, product of the time, obviously.
Obviously.
That's fine. But Leonidas is a rational, calm man who understands the value of politics, who understands the balance between honor and truth and warriorship and the importance of wordsmithing and political maneuvering. He's sort of a perfect hero, as opposed to a batshit crazy guy with good values.
Okay.
The Spartan society, you even have that plot line where he's going, is it wrong of me for you not to want to go to war and die? As opposed to be a bunch of crazy lunatics go yeah, we're gonna fight!
Yeah.
And all of these elements are made to humanize them, to make them more we understand the world.
Okay.
And to me that made them less fascinating, because the truth of the matter is that the Spartans were a warrior class.
Yeah.
They did live for the battle. They were a little bit batshit crazy about that stuff.
Yeah. And
to de-emphasize that, for me, is to de-emphasize the part that makes their present in history interesting in terms of what we are as humans. That as humans, we can be looking for battle in this glorious way and find value and an ethical system through that, which is not what we do today. We are peace and love and shit. And I'm happy about that, but it is fascinating that humans at some point in some regions were not like that. And they were not necessarily unethical, they were just different.
Maybe the movie would have worked a little more if you didn't know what happened to them to begin with, because he's trying to humanize them, make them, feel like more like us, and then at the end they get slaughtered. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert.
I think we all know that. So, it's like Apollo 13 for me. If you're going hey, you spoiled the movies, fucking read, okay?
It's based on historical events.
Come on.
But yeah, it's still part of a history that's a little obscure, especially to Americans. So maybe you don't. There's not quite knowing that they're going to get all slaughtered. So having them humanized, and then the sacrifice that they're trying to make to save their country, maybe that has a little more effect than starting to watch the movie from the beginning, say you're going to die anyway, So maybe there's a little difference there.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of truth in that. I know it's for me. It's just that I was watching very relatable people go through historical events that will lead to a certain degree of tragedy. But then again, given what they've accomplished, is it a tragedy? Is it just heroism? You decide.
Yeah.
But I really felt bored because I felt like I knew these characters just because they were so much like every other character in every other movie.
Okay.
And for me, ancient Greek society was very different from society today, and I would have liked a little bit more emphasis on that. The role of women is very it's very 1960s America. They're like there to be supportive. There's even a scene where it's like there's this old woman who nags and it goes like, women, they gave them the beauty, but then they turned into wives. Knock, 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 knock.
That was a great line.
I was like, this.
Yeah.
It was like you could have placed this story in World War II, and the characters would be exactly the same.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That made it less interesting to me. But enough about my griping. I want to know what you find interesting about that movie, what you like about it. Like, that's what I want to talk about.
I actually enjoy, more historically accurate movies. So, you get to actually learn actually what happened for real, and that, in 300, kind of ridiculous that, they're fighting, monsters and magicians and stuff like that. You're like, at a certain point, I know it's propaganda, but, and I know it's based on history, but I didn't quite like it that much. I really like the fact that here you get to see what happens with the Athenians, trying to blockade, the ship to prevent them from being outflanked, and then Thespians coming to help, and also deciding, no, we're staying as well, because we're defending Greece, which is also something that happened.
It's touched upon in the 300, in fairness.
Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, Thespians basically decide as well, 700 of us are staying as well, you're not deciding what we're doing. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that, much of it is, more like what happened in history, and that's what I really liked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's other parts that I preferred from 300. If you're looking at, straight up action coolness, the fights here felt a little flat,
You know what it is? It's the setting. For me, it was the setting. It was like, okay, guys, the fighting, obviously, this is a 1962 movie. Yeah. I don't expect, Zack Snyder slow motion, fast forward action.
Exactly, yeah.
But what made it a little bit flat for me was that the terrain was just like this big plain, which, it wasn't meant to be, because the whole point was that they had to funnel through that. And it's like, you're looking and it's like, it's a plane. They can just go around you. Like, that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Well, it's a pass, so it still has to be flat and big. I guess you didn't really see from the side to side where they couldn't.
Yeah, and it's not a lack of realism in the sense that it's possible that the boundaries were just outside of the camera's range.
They just didn't show it to us.
Exactly, but it's a movie. You need to show it to us.
Yeah,
right.
They told you. They don't need to show. They told. Okay, that's how it works, Dimitri. Tell, don't show.
So for me, that's what made it feel a little bit flat, where it's like it was just a bunch of people cosplaying on a plane, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lack of drama on that level. That's true.
Yeah. But also the battle really happened like, okay, send the regular troops are getting slaughtered, and then, alright, chariots. Why the hell would you send chariots to try and, against infantry with spears? It's completely stupid. And I really like that. And it's like, the guy's like, why did you do that? It's so stupid. Chariots are meant to outflank people. We can't maneuver here. Shut up. That's why. And then, the Immortals, and you can actually see the comparison, between the Spartans who were, completely armored in metal, with metal weapons, against those guys with, cloth armor and, shields made out of reed. You're like, you guys are going to get slaughtered. This is ridiculous. And that's actually what happens. And really,
yeah.
The Immortals were not ninjas, okay? They were actually real humans.
Yeah, and it makes sense for their weapons to be the way they were, because they fought in desert fields mostly, where it's extremely hot.
Yeah.
And, the conditions with the wind and the sand, sand and wind makes for, a really harsh living conditions.
Yeah.
So, of course, they were dressed like that so they can move fast. Like, you put a metal plate on a guy in the desert, that's an instant dead guy right there.
Pretty much.
So it makes sense, historically speaking, that they would come to this battle completely ill-equipped, where the Greeks, who lived in Greece, have the sort of home field advantage of, I know what armor to build for this climate,
Exactly. But, that's kind of what I like, presented more, I really like those historical kind of movie like that really actually teach you a little more. A big gripe I have, again, is the 300 part. In this movie, there's no reason not to have the whole Spartan army show up.
Yeah, well, no, they do provide a reason.
They provided, but historically, the army was actually there, and only 300 Spartans stayed, to block. When the other path was found, only 300 stayed, to slow them down, to slow the retreat, to prevent the other Greeks to escape. In this one, just have the whole army there. There's no reason for only 300 of us there.
The reason they provide in this movie is that the Greek council has not agreed to this war, so the Spartans are not allowed to send their army there. but the captain of the army is allowed to go with his bodyguards, and he has 300 bodyguards. That's why. That's in the movie. That's why.
No, well, actually, they didn't want to protect Greece. Is the real reason. It was like one of the councilmen he really hated at Athens because I think some member of his family was killed by Athenians. So he's like, he said, yeah, we'll send the army. You know, when this religious festival is done. But when the 200 left, they changed their minds. Like, yeah, no, we're not sending the army. You know.
Yeah, but but in terms of why this matters to Leonidas is that he is not allowed to send his full army. He's not allowed. But he's allowed to be accompanied by 300 bodyguards. So that's why there's 300. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's why there's 300, but it could have been the whole army there, and then, okay, now we're going to be surrounded, so only 300 of us left, and that's why, you know, you could still...
No, it could have been closer to history.
Yeah.
But
so the drama would have still been there. You know?
Just to sort of clarify what we're saying here, because you said, like, there's no reason why there's 300 in this movie. No, there's internal plot reason for
there is internal plot reason, but there's no storytelling reason of why you couldn't have the whole army there.
There's no reason why the filmmakers deviated from history.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yes. Again, in the movie 300, it was really to show, you know, Spartans are awesome. They're going to, you know, show, you know, it's the whole propaganda thing going as well. You know, Spartans are so awesome. Only 300 of them can destroy the whole army. In this one, you know, I don't know. You don't get the feeling that, those Spartans are so awesome because only 300 of them yet, because the fight scenes are kind of lame. So you don't you don't get that feeling of awesomeness. So I don't, maybe in that time standard, you know, that those fight scenes look really, really cool.
No.
Okay,
no.
I'm just saying.
No.
maybe not.
No. Anybody who's seen an Errol Flynn movie knows.
Okay,
It is, well, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't look nearly as sort of as it does to our eye today, you know, but it cannot be considered the top of the top for action either, you know.
And anyway, you could barely, with the way it was shot, you could barely see numbers anyway. Was there 20 of them? Was there 300 of them? Was there 1,000 of them? The way it was always filmed, you're like, how many Spartans are there? So there was really, you know, I guess it would just did for a cool title, and it would have been, I don't know. But then again, you can still use the title 300 Spartans and have the 300 stay at the end there and have the rest of the army retreat.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would have been fine.
I just don't understand that part of, you know, why only, you know...
Why do it that way, yeah. I don't know. It's silly. And it's just a way of making Leonidas cleverer than he probably was in history, to be perfectly blunt. Like, he was probably a great... warrior and a strategist. You know, like that's probably what he was, but like here, like, I circumvented the system. Again, a very American way of doing things.
Yeah.
You know, screw the man.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't crazy about that. I will say one subplot that I like, and I'd be curious to know if you know if it's historical at all, but the idea that Xerxes in this version was counseled by a Greek spy, whom he was fucking. And that she kept counseling him the wrong way, thus giving the 300 a better chance. I thought that was an interesting subplot, but also while watching it, I was going like, that can't be true.
No, it's not. It's not. There's no evidence of that happening. And also, kind of, you know, I lost 3 ships, you know, it's like, really? 3 ships? You brought like millions of people to Greece and you lost 3 ships and you're complaining of your sea battle? I've lost 3 ships. Seriously. It was really weird. But
let's talk about Xerxes. Yeah. He's not very compelling a quote-unquote villain in this movie. He's kind of a twit.
Yeah. Well, he's not a very good strategist, honestly. It's like, when you look at this strategy, I'm going to send this part of my army. Oh, it didn't work? Okay, I'm going to send my chariots. Oh, it didn't work? Okay, I'm going to send the immortals. It's like, you know, those are meant to support each other. You know, different parts of the army are meant to support each other. He basically runs his army like I play Age of Empires 2, you know. It's too complicated. So I'm just going to build like archers and attack with like 50 archers and that's it. And if, you know, my friends make cavalries and mow me down, well, too bad, I gave it a shot, you know? But that's exactly his strategy. It's just, okay, I'm going to send the infantry. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, send the cavalry then. Oh, that didn't work. It's like, that's not how war works, really. Whereas Leonidas, he has, okay, they're charging us, okay, spearmen and archers shoot, and, it's all very, compared to Leonidas, yeah, he's a twit. He really is.
No, and he keeps blaming everyone else for his bad decisions.
I know. The tone is said at the beginning when he has, like, this Spartan in his camp, and the Spartan says, I've never met anybody who can beat me. He's like, oh, really? And he has one of his guards fight him, and the Spartan wins. I was like, well, you sure know how to ruin a dinner. He's like, he told you that was going to happen. What were you expect to happen? I mean, it's so stupid. The tone is set really early on that, like, that guy's a complete idiot, and he does not deserve to win.
Interesting sexual dynamics in this movie. I'd like to point out something. All of the good decision makers don't listen to their women. Leonidas doesn't have that problem because his wife supports him no matter what. He makes a decision, she supports him.
Like a good American wife should.
Sad. It comes off like that a little bit.
A little bit.
It was in 1962, people.
Yeah, product of its time. Come on.
The young guy who goes join the thing, when she goes like, "Oh, you should stay with me, have a nice life," and he's like, "No, I have to fight for my people," and then doesn't listen to his woman. And then ends up making a terrific decision for himself. It ends up, ends
up working pretty good for himself,
Yeah.
He's pretty much the hero at the end. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And gets to have some peace of mind regarding his father and all of that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the only character who does listen to the woman in his life is Xerxes, who listens to the Greek spy woman.
Yeah.
Not realize, and it's like, the moral of this story is like, real men don't listen to women.
I guess it is.
I know, I'm just giving these examples really quick. You might be thinking, it's like, well, you're reading into this a little bit. It's like, no, but like when I was watching it, it's going like, that's really peculiar.
And
Did you do that?
And I actually enjoyed that part too, again, because it's a product of its time.
Yeah.
So knowing it's from the 60s and you watch that and you're like laughing, it's like, oh man, people were so late back then. It's like, that's what people thought, and you're kind of like laughing, it's like, oh, this is so silly. So again, that's one thing I enjoyed as well. I was like, oh my god, this is so silly. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you watch it, like, be aware it is a product of its time, though, damn.
It's like, she's a woman, she's going to give bad advice. It's pretty much what it is.
But again, it's like, that's what I mean, like, these characters, they don't feel as real to me. That's what disappointed me a little bit. And I have to say, Leonidas is too perfect.
Okay.
Like, Leonidas in 300, at least, is sort of gruff and a little bit psychotic, as I pointed out. And it's mostly Butler's performance that gives him that sense of, like, smart man and wise man, but a little bit unhinged at the same time. That makes him feel like a full-rounded character, even though he is, to some degree, a caricature. And this movie, he's just perfect. And the actor who plays him doesn't really add any pathos or any sense of dimension to him.
That is true. Yeah, he was perfect. There was no, at one point, it's like, oh, are we going to fail or are we something like that? It's like, no, we're doing this. We should recruit. No, they made a promise to the Greeks. We must do it, And we're doing this for Greek. He was basically practically Uncle Sam, You could see it that way.
Yeah.
Even when, they're going to fail, it's like, okay, we still have to try and kill Xerxes. And, they're still charging for him. And when he dies, it's like the whole army is like, well, screw this. And they started retreating. It's like... It's kind of like, he was pretty much... Yeah, there's no better way of saying he was Uncle Sam. I mean, I'm sorry. He's basically, Sparta needs you.
And so, again, like, in a pure cinematic level, I found the movie a little bit tiresome for me, just because of these elements. These elements of... like, we are just, like, shoving these values down your throat, but we're not building actual drama around it, if you will. And the historical part, like you pointed out, there's some deviations from history that are pretty major. You're like, okay, like, if you had just done it completely historically correct, I might have forgiven you a lot of stuff, but since you decided not to do that either, what's going on here?
That's a good point. Yeah. The really big deviation is, like... bring the whole Spartan army. There's no reason in this movie not to. In 300, there is, because if you want to do the propaganda, him doing the propaganda to the rest of the army, well, the army cannot be there. It's like, that's not what happened. But here, there's no reason. One thing I would have also liked, I know it's 300 Spartan, but, And again, it's a product of its time as well. So 1962, you probably couldn't have done it, but the naval battle apparently that was taking part at the time was incredibly interesting too, because the Greek commander, I forgot his name, but the guy from Athens, he was apparently masterfully destroying the fleet, and losing almost no ships to all the Persian ships. It was like apparently a massacre on sea as much as it was on land with the Spartans. And, that would have been cool, actually, to see as well,
Yeah, well, material that's actually addressed in 300 Rise of an Empire.
Okay,
actually.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the Battle of Salamis that takes place afterwards.
The movie, there's a little bit of that, but
Okay.
there's also a meanwhile.
Okay.
There's like, while 300, the Zack Snyder movie was taking place, this was also taking place a bit in the movie.
Yeah.
So, no, that they actually do address that.
Okay, that's cool. See, that's interesting. Well, it won't be very historically accurate if we follow the 300 thing, but that's interesting. And also,
we've seen the trailer.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. And also Salamis afterwards, which they basically goaded the Persians into attacking them in a place where they knew the Greeks had the advantage, but it's like, we still need to destroy their fleet, so let's do it. And it's like completely stupid, but I think the event of Thermopylae pissed off Xerxes so much that it's like, no, we need a resounding victory. So he basically attacked the Greeks where he had no reason of doing, and his whole fleet got destroyed. So, that would have been fun. That basically is mentioned at the end of this movie. You're going to win at Salamis, and it's like, okay, yeah, we'll retreat then, and we'll win at Salamis. Because apparently the Oracle is real, and knows everything. One thing that bothers me a little bit, I know you have to tell the audience that, don't worry, the Greek are going to win in the end, even though those 300s are dead. Greece is going to be fine, so you have to use the Oracle to claim, well, the Oracle says that you're going to win there, so it's going to happen. But,
that you don't need that, because the movie ends with like this big giant subtitle telling you what happened after.
Yeah. Or you can also say, big subtitle say, read a book and see what happens later on, education, it doesn't hurt that much.
No, I will say this about this movie. I think it is much more likely to encourage people to read up on this stuff and get informed than certainly the Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I liked about as well. As soon as that movie was done, I probably was on Wikipedia for like 2.5 hours afterwards, reading about a bunch of other stuff. So I like movies that make me curious about stuff. It's like, hey, let's see what happens. Even more. And what happened. With Greece and Persia in the whole meantime. And yeah, just it's something to read about, you guys. It might be a spoiler for the next 300, Rise of an Empire. But if you want to read how the actual Persian ground troops were beaten, that is also quite hilarious. So check it out on Wikipedia. You guys know how to use the internet. The way the battle worked out, pretty freaking funny.
Can you imagine if they didn't know how to use the internet? Like, it's like, how did you find this podcast? Like, how did that happen? It's like, I don't know, I type stuff.
Maybe somebody just, hey dude, listen to this, and they click for him, so you don't know. That could happen.
It's like, how do you type on a Google search idiomatic, which is not a real word, or...
That's exactly how they did. They didn't know how to type, so they just random letters, and it just happened to be idiomatic.
Alright, so your final verdict on this movie.
I would actually, if you like 300, I would actually, just watch it, this one. You can compare. I liked it, mostly because I like stuff about history, and to me it was very enjoyable. It's not super long, so it's not that bad. If you don't like it, you didn't waste that much time. So, no, I totally think it's worth a watch as well to see how society was in 1962. It's a nice time capsule as well, so you can enjoy it in that sense as well. Perfectly fine. So I would recommend it.
This is the first time this happens, but I'm giving it a no, don't bother. I'm like, I was bored. I was restless. I was like, can this thing just be over soon? I did not enjoy this movie at all. I thought it was full of cliches. I thought the characters weren't there. I thought there were some really weird decisions plot-wise being taken.
Yeah.
And that really, yes, the historical event on which it's based is absolutely fascinating, and the movie can't take that away from history, but I felt it was the inferior representation of it, to be honest. But I'm so happy that this finally happened. You like a movie that I don't. Alright, let's talk briefly about Rise of an Empire now. That came out 2 weeks ago at this point.
Okay. Haven't seen it yet. That trailer was probably one of the messiest I have ever seen ever. You know, at least you know there's going to be cool action, but it's one of those that really does not, you know, some people complain, oh, the trailer told me the whole story. No, the trailer told me absolutely nothing. It just told me some cool action shots, and about it roughly, you know, what we see from the trailer, it looks cool.
And then, even then, you know what I mean? Like, this is not directed by Zack Snyder. And what I got from it is, we're gonna try to imitate Zack Snyder. Okay. But we're not Zack Snyder. So it's gonna come off a little bit off. The action is super stylized, and it's obviously in a fake CGI world.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have that sort of painting brush quality that the original 300
I did notice that, yeah.
And that painting brush quality is what made it nice, not the fact that it looks like a fucking CGI house.
Again, I know you're trying to do a sequel, but if you're trying to have it look exactly like the guy did, rehire the guy, or do your own thing, honestly.
Next week, we will be reviewing Captain America. Now, that's the 1990?
90 to 92 version. It depends. It
was about production completed in 1989.
Yeah.
It was supposed to get a theatrical release date in 1990, which in some countries it did. And in America, it came out in 1992 on video.
Yeah, and made for TV as well.
Oh, yeah, right, that's right.
So, yes, the 1990-ish version of Captain America.
So that's what we're going to be reviewing in honor, of course, of The Winter Soldier coming out. Until then, if you want to share with us your knowledge of Greek history, you can write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment at idiomanic.com. Just click on the episode name. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Twitter, by the way, our handle is @idiomanic. Pretty simple. We're also on Facebook. Please like us on our page. We're also on iTunes. If you could write us a review, it will help us tremendously get the support to continue generating content of Spartan quality.
So, wait, which one? The perfect one or the mega gay one?
You decide.
Okay.
Otherwise, I will have no choice but to send Nick to his death along with 299 other panelists.
Where are you going to find those?
No, the big question is how I'm going to coordinate so that they actually freaking show up.
Yeah, you know, like 2/3 of them are going to cancel last minute anyway. So. He's part of the army for a while, and then that's it.
Well, no, actually, then the thing with his father comes back and gets redefined differently, and like,
yeah,
what the hell is this? Anyway, and it started as an abstinence subplot, no less, because he really wants to boink his girlfriend. His girlfriend's all like, "Not till we get married." Yeah, if you really like it, you're gonna put a ring on it, and what the hell is this doing in this movie?
I know, it's weird. Well, is it a product of its time? I guess.
Well, yes, I would imagine it is, because in today's society.
Sorry.
Please, you know what I mean?
That was actually really
100 minus the visuals, if you will.
Yeah, and they're wearing armor. They're not bare-chested, which I really actually liked.
Which I count as part of the visuals.
I wasn't looking at their chest. I'm just saying.
And there's this one subplot with this young dude who falls in love with this girl, and then his father turns out to be suspected of treason, and then he can't be part of the army because of that, and that really shames him, and all of that crap.
And so he decides to go and help the army and prove himself nonetheless, and then he proves himself.
Our show, what we do is when a movie comes out that's part of a big franchise, we take the movie that started it all and give it a look to see what our expectations should be. And then we ended up reviewing sort of the wrong movie, as a lot pointed out to us. 300 is based on a comic book by Frank Miller that was inspired by the movie The 300 Spartans, a 1962 movie by Rudolph Maté.
Yeah. It's basically the story of the Battle of Thermopylae. where the Persian Empire was trying to invade Greece, and basically the Greek force stopped them at a pass. They were led by Spartans. In this movie, only 300 of them showed up instead of the whole Spartan army, because for various reasons. So 300 Spartans hold the line against the whole of the Persian Empire as they're trying to defend Greece from the invaders.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the story goes. That's how history goes.
Yeah.
I will say that it's actually 301.
I guess you're right, because there's this one guy. I'm not sure what his role was exactly.
Oh, his plot was weird, dude.
I know.
Actually, let's get into that, his plot, and then we'll give our more general impressions. Like, the basic thrust of the 300 Spartans is exactly the same as 300.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everyone! 2 weeks ago we reviewed 300 because 300 Rise of an Empire was coming out in theaters, and then realized we reviewed the wrong movie, and you know what that means?
We get to wear armor this time?
Ew. Now it means another episode of Don't F with the Original!
With Nicholas, I'm the vegan correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I'm Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic. Now, as I just explained,